Am I the a-hole for telling my sister her rainbow baby isn't special? I, 27 female, have a set of twins, Ben and Betty. They just turned 6. My sister, 32 female, has Connor, who is 4. My sister and her husband lost their first baby due to SIDS. It was devastating for the whole family, and I was behind my sister 100% of the way. I couldn't imagine what it was like. Anyway, when she found out she was pregnant with Connor, we were all excited. The pregnancy went well and Connor got a good bill of health. Everything was fine. I love my sister and I love my nephew, but my sister is convinced that because he's her rainbow baby, that means he can do whatever he wants. Connor is incredibly spoiled and a brat. He throws fits to get his way, hits, kicks, cries, whatever it takes. My sister and her husband give him no discipline. He's their rainbow baby, so that is their excuse for his bad behavior. Their lives are to serve whatever Connor wants. Every year, my family takes a vacation. Me, my husband, kids, sister, and her husband, and our parents. We all decided on Yellowstone. Last minute, my sister tried to get us to change to Disney World, and we refused because we felt our kids were still too young for it. They ended coming to Yellowstone, but complained the whole time that Connor wasn't having fun. That is just a brief example. So now on to the reason for the post. My twins just turned 6, and we had a small party for them. We invited friends from their daycare and some family. Everyone was having a good time but Connor. He wanted cake, didn't like the games, wanted to watch TV, wanted ice cream now, didn't want other kids to touch him, etc. Basically, the whole party Connor threw a tantrum. The final straw came at present time. My husband went to get the gifts out the living room only to find Connor had ripped nearly all of them open. My sister made excuses, saying he just excited and wanted to play with my kids' new toys. I lost it. I told her that Connor isn't special, that he's a brat and has been ruining the party since he got there. My sister immediately went on the his/her rainbow baby. I didn't mean it, and maybe I should have put the presents where he couldn't get them. They were in the living room. The party was outside. No one was inside. I lost my temper. I know I did. But this was my kid's party though. I said some nasty things to her. Told her that Connor isn't a baby anymore. He's not special. And she's raising a self-centered brat who will grow up to be a self-centered adult. She left the party. Later, my parents called. They said they understood my frustrations and everything about the situation, then said they still felt like I should apologize to my sister. Why? Because I have 2 healthy kids. Well, she lost one, and she's still having to deal with it. I told them no. My sister should apologize for how her son acted at the party. My husband and the guests who were at the party are on my side. My sister hasn't really spoken to me in a few days. Just posted passive-aggressive things on social media, which I just blocked her. Am I the a-hole here? Edit. Just to clear up some things in the comments. A lot of people have suggested my sister should have went to therapy, and she did. My sister and I got pregnant around the same time, so we were excited to raise our kids together. However, her child died a few weeks after being born while I had twins. We did attend therapy together because I felt guilt for having 2 kids while her 1 kid died. I have been nothing but 100% supportive of her. My family and I have tried talking to her and husband in the past about Connor's behavior, because this didn't happen overnight. This has been happening since he could walk. They ignore us and throw their dead baby in our face when we bring up something about Connor. The party just brought everything to a head for me and I lost my temper. I accept that. We have decided that we aren't going to talk to my sister or husband till things cool down some more and she's willing to listen to what we have to say. None of us are downplaying the fact she lost a child. I know Connor is special to her, but the rest of the world isn't going to see it that way. Thanks to those who ask if my kids are okay. They are okay, and the party went on after my sister left. My kids got to open some gifts that Connor didn't get to. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. Is he still going to be the rainbow baby in high school? I'm sure when he commits his first crime, the judge will be very understanding that the rainbow baby needs cuddles and not confinement. Can you imagine him trying to use the excuse, "but I am a rainbow baby," for everything in school? He can't be charged with a DUI. He's a rainbow baby. He can't be expelled for fighting. He's a rainbow baby. He can't get divorced. He's a rainbow baby. He had to get into this college. He's a rainbow baby. Laughing my butt off. What if he finds another rainbow baby? What are the rules there? Not Dayhall. Connor knows what he's doing. He knows his mom and dad let him get away with anything because he's special. And I would bet every day they tell him that he is special. There is nothing wrong with loving your child, but clearly your sister and husband could use some family therapy to deal with the loss of their first child. They haven't gotten over it. Connor is basically the replacement for their dead baby, and that is going to mess him up in life. You admitted you lost your temper and said some nasty things. In this case, you had every right to do so. Your sister was letting Connor dictate the party. Who opens someone's presents? She likely took him inside, let him open them, and thought you wouldn't say anything. You're not Dayhall. Connor knows what he's doing. Hate to single this part out because I agree with the rest of the post, but the kid is 4. He will know what he's doing if this parenting continues, but no, he does not know what he's doing. A 4-year-old with no discipline or boundaries or consequences is more or less an untrained puppy. At 4, you still don't even have an understanding that other people exist outside of your world. Look up theory of mind, which you don't really get until around 5. Generally, your post is still valid, but it kind of places too much blame on a 4-year-old who is the, albeit horrible, byproduct of an awful parenting. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling this mom the truth about why her son wasn't invited to a sleepover party? My son just turned 10, and for his birthday wanted to do a superhero slumber party. We did something similar the last 2 years, not for his 9th birthday for obvious reasons, and they all had a blast. The party started around 3. We did pizza, movies, popcorn, and designed superhero masks. My son was friends with a boy named James from his class. Came to the last 2 sleepover parties, and while well behaved, it was his parents who I felt were the problem. When we send out the invites, we tell the parents when the party is and what time to pick the kids up the next day. For the last 2 parties, James was always the last one to be picked up. For his 8th birthday, we specifically stated that all kiddos should be picked up by 11 a.m. We had plans to go out to my in-laws for his birthday party, which was on his actual birthday. We had 5 boys, including our son, at the party, and 3 of them were picked up by 11 a.m. At 11:30, I texted James's mom and asked if she was coming to get him. She said she was on her way. I assumed she ran an errand and was just running behind. No big deal. By 12:30, she hadn't shown up. I texted her again and I reminded her that we had somewhere to be and she needed to get here as soon as possible. She responded that she was eating lunch and would be there soon. By 2 p.m., I texted her again and let her know that she needs to pick up her son ASAP, that we were getting ready to leave in an hour, and her son was not invited to come with us. I had assumed that would prompt her to come get him. By 4 p.m., my husband left with our kids to my in-laws, and I called James's mother. I left her a voicemail and told her that if she was not at my house in 30 minutes to pick up her son, I was calling the police to inform them that he was an abandoned child. She showed up within 15 minutes to get him. She made a half-baked apology about how she was busy with errands and running her other children to their activities. Today, I received a text message from her about why James was not invited to the sleepover party. Apparently, one of the other moms was talking about how much fun the kids had at the party, and she wanted to know why her son was not invited. So I told her the truth, that her son was not invited because I was not sure if she could come get him in a timely manner and without disrupting our plans for the rest of the day. I explained that anytime her son is at my house, she's always late to pick him up and I was tired of catering to her schedule. She called me an uppity witch, and has since blocked me on social media and her phone. Am I the a-hole for telling her why her son was not invited? Post edit. Because this has been asked a lot, we do not suspect any kind of mistreatment in the home. I am a nurse, so I would be obligated to report this if I expected that this was happening. James's mom has 4 children. Her other son is in scouts with my son. They are always the last to be dropped off / picked up because of her other kids' activities. Her husband does drop off and pick up the kids, and he is on time. Our parties and scout meetings just happen to fall on days and times when he is not available. We are not the only parents who have discussed this with her. Multiple parents from the group have said that the same issue with her not coming to pick him or her other kids up on time. She's just a chronically late person, and I am not really sure what to do to help out with this. Not Dayhole. This mom sucks, to put it mildly. And I feel sorry for her kid. She was using you for free daycare and doesn't care enough about her kid. It's weird how she was able to pick up her kid in 15 minutes once the threats got real. Exactly. And she doesn't even care enough about her son's involvement in the next party to just give a decent apology and ask for another chance. She jumps straight to insults and blocking. Not Dayhal. You gave her the honest reason based on experience. Instead of saying, "You're right, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to have my child punished for my behavior, so could you please give him/me another chance?" And she responded with profanity and blocked you. That's a good way to ensure the poor kid will never be invited again. And no doubt other parents feel the same way. Not Dayhal. It sucks that her kid has to pay the price, but picking up your kid 5 hours after the agreed upon time is BS. She was 100% using you as a babysitter and was enjoying her day minus James. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's blaming her daughter too much for her ex's actions?" My sister has a daughter, 15, with her ex-husband. When she was pregnant with him, her ex turned out to be a not very kind person. All the kindness and understanding we had seen before was gone, and by the time my niece was born, she was done. They had reached the point of no return. When my niece was 4, she met her husband. Her ex was pissed, forbade my sister from having her husband around my niece, even took her to court to say he wasn't allowed to interact with his daughter. The court laughed it off, of course, but her ex was very quick to be loud about how my brother-in-law was nothing to my niece, and how he would never be anything to her. My sister brought it to court, but nothing happened, and they went about life as normal, sharing equal custody of my niece and living life. She has 3 more kids with brother-in-law, ages 9, 7, and 4. My niece is very quick to correct anyone who calls them her siblings, and adds in the half or says they're not her real siblings. My sister has corrected her, has punished her, and has told her that half is not a term they use. They're siblings and that's it. My niece does not agree, and in the 9 years of having a younger sibling, she's never said just sibling. She has almost no relationship with her younger siblings. And my sister is pissed. Like, she has told us she is ashamed of niece and is disgusted with her. She has told her she is ashamed and disgusted, and will come back to us even more angry because that doesn't change how my niece feels or acts. She told me and our brother the other day that she's disgusted by her daughter, and she can't stand who she is, and she's thinking of locking her up all summer to get through to her. I told her she's blaming my niece too much when she knows it's coming from her ex. That she should try to understand better that my niece is caught between what she says and what her dad says. And while we all think is an a-hole, she thinks the world of her dad, and she would defend him with her dying breath and is going to be caught up in what she said. I said it doesn't matter her being mean, right? But that anger needs to go toward her ex for this, and not the kid who is stuck in the middle. My brother backed me up and said that at the end of the day, niece didn't ask for any of this, and is still growing and learning. My sister was pissed though. She said, "How dare I say she's being too hard when she can't just think of niece? And how dare I think she's not mad at her ex?" She tore both of us down for it and told us we were unsupportive, judgmental a-holes. And she's still mad with a capital M. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You said it perfectly. All sister is going to succeed in doing is alienating her daughter. At the age of 15, she can decide she wants to live with her dad, and most judges will side with her, especially if she explains that mom is punishing her for calling mom and stepdad's kids her half-siblings, and that she plans to lock her up for the summer until she sees it mom's way. I feel so sorry for the daughter. I've had friends who've been stuck in custody battles, and it's a pain. I hope you're not the a-hole. Honestly, that entire sister's family seems like a crap hole for the daughter. Sister's going to lose her kid if she doesn't immediately turn her mindset around and support her. With kids, the carrot works better than the stick. Who knows, maybe being nicer about it and having her feel comfortable in that home will eventually make the daughter call her half-siblings siblings. If she doesn't, who cares? Positive reinforcement is the way to go here. It repairs the relationship and has a chance to make her do what sister wants. However, never use this positive reinforcement to try and push daughter to do what sister wants. If she doesn't want to, no point in trying to make her change her mind. Not a a-hole. At all. What you said is right. And someday, niece may come to understand she has been under the influence of her dad. But your sister can't force her to acknowledge her siblings. Yep, and what her mom is currently doing / planning to do will make sure she'll have essentially no good parent figures in her life. I am sad for the girl. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my son's parents from my house and refusing to let them see him? My ex from high school got pregnant and had my son. Biologically, he's not mine, but I always considered him my own. I was already at another college, 18 years old at the time, hours away, so she didn't tell me about him until he was almost 7 months old. We got back together and I raised him as my own. Was I stupid for not thinking about a paternity test? Maybe. But I still consider that one of the greatest blessings in disguise despite all the hurt. So fast forward 80 years later, I find out my ex has been cheating on me and broke up with her. She tells me my son's not mine and it's been this other guy. We had a paternity test that proved it was true and it crushed me. I was refusing to get back together with her or let her move back into my apartment, so she kept my son away from me. I didn't have that kind of money to fight it in court. And she started bringing the other guy around to see my son. They got him on a birth certificate and it was just a whole mess. They got married a year later and moved away. My family convinced me to let it go and accept that my son has his new family, so stop putting myself through this heartache. Eventually I did, and I always hoped I'd see him again, and thank God I did. More like he looked for me. My son is barely 19 and we've reconnected again. My son at first admitted he's been mad at me because he thinks my ex and I broke up, then I decided to stay out of his life. He knows who his biological father is. They're still married. But he was told that we decided to go our separate ways. As in, I made that choice. I told him the entire truth, and that's caused him to move out of their place. For the last couple months, he's been staying here because his other family is just pushing him to talk to his parents, and he wants space away from all that. Where I might be the a-hole. They found out he's staying with me and have come to my place. The last time they came, I shut the door on them and told them to get out because he doesn't want to see them. I'll admit I'm angry for what they did to me too, but also for the lies they told him. Her family, plus them, believe in being an a-hole for kicking them out of my home when they are only trying to see their son, and also for not helping to mend things as it's in his best interest. I've been mostly reacting out of emotion and my son's wishes, especially when I kicked them out, so that's why I'm not sure if I was an a-hole here or not. Not an a-hole. She took your son away from you. Yes, it's your son. You raised him and you loved him. You were a true parent, and I'm glad you were connected. They don't get to come to your house and ask for anything. Your son isn't comfortable being around them, so be it. Their adult child asks for space and time. They are willing to give him neither. Hope he's not a-hole for sure. Well, they didn't do what was best for an almost 9-year-old. Why would they suddenly do what's best for him now? How are you the a-hole for kicking adults out of your house when they were trying to see another adult? You're not withholding a child from his parents. Not the a-hole. I guess because they're trying to make things right with him, and maybe not thinking in his best interest the way I should be. That's why I just wanted to check in with others. He's old enough to know what he wants, and he can reach out to them at any time. Keep them away from him. That's why he left.
Am I the a-hole for saying my mom's cheating did make her a worse parent? Last year, my dad found out my mom was cheating on him and they broke up. Mom moved in with her affair partner Ron, and she tried to carry on like nothing happened. With me, 16 female, and with my brother, 13 male, she was expecting nothing to have changed, but I didn't want to see her. I told my dad, who told his lawyer, who told the judge, and the judge ordered therapy for me and my mom together to work it out. And right now, that once-a-week therapy is the only time I see my mom. My brother has to go to mom's house every other weekend despite not wanting to. Mom has told me this is because he sees my reaction and copies me. And if I were to stop acting like she did anything bad to me and fixed our relationship, she'd have both kids willingly in her life now. In the almost year since we started therapy, we have been to see 3 different therapists assigned by the same judge. The most recent one we just started having appointments with a month ago, and it was suggested I engage just a little in therapy at some point to help get my point across directly to Mom. I decided to do this after we switched. The new therapist didn't just ask dumb questions like the others about why I'm mad at my mom or why I don't want to forgive her. Instead, the therapist let Mom do her talking, which was all about how unfair this is, how she was always a great mom to me and my brother, and how we should not be treating her different because of how her marriage ended, that she never failed in her duty as a parent to the 2 of us, and her heart is broken by the fact she can be so easily discarded, and how unfair she finds it that we won't give her a fair partner a chance. Then the therapist asked me if I had anything to say to the things my mom said, and I told her I did. For the first time, I said exactly how I felt, and I told Mom directly. I said that yes, Mom cheated on Dad and their relationship is their relationship. But I pointed out how cheating creates a broken home, one that is full of pain and anger, and does damage that can't be brushed away. I pointed out that Mom didn't think about me and my brother when she chose to betray Dad and hurt him, nor the impact it would have on us to go from our parents together to Mom being with someone else immediately. I said people talk about how kids need time after divorce or death to adjust to the transition, and cheating takes away from that because typically the people who had the affair move in together immediately, and I said that happened here. I said I went from having a normal, happy family to finding out it was not as happy as I expected because clearly Mom wasn't happy, to then being told my parents were divorcing and realizing that my mom had hurt Dad, and that Mom expected me to live with her and the person she destroyed our family to be with. I told my mom I don't see her the same way anymore. She's not someone to admire because she's not honest. She doesn't care about hurting the man who gave her 2 kids or hurting her 2 kids. I told her I would never want to be like her now, and that's hurtful to realize. I said she can talk all she wants about how she did nothing to us, and the more she does, the more she angers me because she did. She caused so much upheaval in our lives and expected us to just go with it. I told her the fact she expects me to be nice to Ron is insanity, and that I felt like she was selfish for refusing to see why me and my brother would feel that way. I said she even wanted to blame me for my brother's feelings instead of herself. I said, so Mom saying this never changed her parenting is wrong. I said it made her a worse parent because of everything I said, and I told my mom and the therapist that my view is pretty freaking set, and I'm not open to seeing if it can change. I took up the rest of our appointment, so Mom didn't get to address it, but she looked mad. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Your mom doesn't want to accept the consequences of her actions. If you and your brother just brushed off what she'd done and accepted her and her affair partner, she could keep telling herself the cheater's lie, which is that what she did wasn't crappy, selfish, and thoughtless. No, what really happened was that she met her soulmate, its true love, and she's going to live happily ever after. And everyone who doesn't go along with that is just holding her back and refusing to let her be happy. So they're the crappy, selfish, thoughtless ones, not her. She's angry because you've not only made it clear that there are consequences, you've also told her why. The truth is that cheaters are liars. They are selfish. They betray their family and not just their spouse. When they decide that their affair partner is worth breaking the family apart for, and they act like them being happy with their affair partner undoes all the pain and hurt that they caused. You and your brother are angry and hurting because of her, and she doesn't want to hear it, because it means that in addition to being a crappy wife and a dirty cheater, she's also a crappy mom, who has caused her kids pain and made them think infinitely less of her. You've knocked her off her high horse, and she's angry about it. You're not the a-hole. You told her the truth, especially the part about her not thinking about you and your brother. If she had considered either of you for even a second, she'd have realized this would be a potential outcome. Not the a-hole. Cheating isn't just about the relationship. It affects the whole family. If her actions caused emotional harm, tension, or instability at home, it's fair to say it impacted her parenting. Being a parent means putting your kids' well-being first, and betrayal can seriously damage that trust. Not the a-hole. When a parent cheats, they cheat on their kids too. It is a huge breach of trust. It not only changes your relationship views with them, but it shapes how you view your own romantic relationships. It is impossible to forgive someone when they won't apologize and try to invalidate your feelings. Your mom is a very selfish person. She will end up with both of you no contact, blame everyone else, but only have herself to blame. She already blames Dad, and now me, so I guess it'll be interesting to see who she blames next. She'll start blaming your brother next, and after him, she may also start blaming the affair partner. She won't take accountability for her own actions, though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex his passport was revoked and causing him to miss his flight? My ex and I have been divorced for 2 years. We have 2 kids, 8 male and 5 female. Everything was great until our daughter was born, and then it's like a switch flipped and he was a completely different person. I held out for as long as I could, but when he began an affair, I filed for divorce. He fought me every step and it took over a year to finalize. During the divorce, I was awarded primary custody. He was ordered to pay support, which he has never done. I don't need it, but it would be nice to have it to save for the kids, so I did sign up for enforcement. I don't badger him about it. I know to him it's a way to try to get me to talk to him. I just let enforcement do their thing. Since he's so far behind, they have suspended just about everything they can. They send notices to him when this happens, but I'm sure he doesn't open them. I am a first-generation American, and most of my extended family still lives abroad. My grandmother recently passed away earlier this year, and I decided I wanted to visit my family with my kids and see her resting place. Ex and I had some back and forth because I need permission from him to leave the country. He agreed, but made a point to tell me that he feels now is a good time to take a vacation and that he was always planning to visit my family's country. I was already anticipating this because following us is something he does every time I take the kids on a trip. My lawyer drafted a document to be signed and notarized that I was being given permission to take our kids out of the country for these specific dates. She also included a clause that he has up until 72 hours prior to the day of travel to revoke his permission. He agreed. The day arrives for us to leave, and I get to the airport with the kids 3 hours before our flight. Things go smoothly, and I take the kids to a diner to grab some breakfast. Ex arrives much later, and as we're finishing up, I get a call from him. Turns out his passport was revoked due to lack of child support payment. He was denied at check-in, and there's no way he can get his passport reinstated without paying his arrears in full. He said that since he can't go, he no longer gives me permission to take them. I reminded him that we are past the 72 hours for him to deny my travel request. He said that he was going to inform an officer that I was trying to kidnap his children. I told him to do whatever he felt was necessary. Officers did show up at the gate to figure out what was going on, but I had the notarized agreement with me, so they sent us on our way. He kept spamming my phone non-stop until we got on the plane, where I was able to turn it off and get some peace for the flight. While we were in the air, he called my brother to complain. We met through him and they're still friends, and I have now been given an earful about how cruel it was for me to continue with the trip, knowing he wouldn't be able to follow us, and that I didn't tell him on purpose. My mother told him to stay out of it, and that it's no longer my responsibility to remind him to open his mail. But some extended family agree with my brother. I don't think I'm the a-hole for continuing our trip, but I am questioning whether I'm an a-hole for not giving him a heads up that he should check his passport. I didn't know it was revoked for sure, but I suspected. Am I the a-hole? Edit to add, because I keep seeing this and I can't keep up with the comments. He can absolutely afford child support. He is self-employed, hence no garnishment unfortunately, but does well. Him not paying is solely a control tactic. He was not happy about the divorce. Now he does whatever he thinks will punish me for going through with it. That includes purposely withholding support. However, I make decent money, enough to pay bills, put a little savings away for the kids, and take them to do fun stuff a couple times a year. So it really doesn't affect me. He knows that the money would go right to the kids' savings accounts, but expects me to beg him for it. Eventually, it will catch up to him and he'll have to pay it some way or other. It's just him prolonging the inevitable and making things more difficult for himself. Also, I don't know why this isn't clear, at least for one person that keeps falsely stating it over and over on different comments, but we were not going on vacation together at all. Nothing was planned together. This was solely a trip for me and the kids. The document stated it was for me and the kids, and that I would be taking full responsibility for them. It was not and never was a we are taking the kids on vacation. That was made extremely clear to him and he understood. So him being unable to leave the country for his vacation had absolutely no bearing on our trip as they were two distinctly separate travel arrangements. Not the a-hole. Some people hate that there are consequences to his actions. He is the one who didn't pay his child support, thinking that he was somehow punishing you. Child support is for the children, so his not paying makes him an a-hole since they are innocents in all this. The fact that he got his passport revoked is entirely on him. He can moan and complain about it, but it all comes back to his actions. And why would it be on her to tell him his passport was revoked, even if she were notified about it? That's entirely between him and the court. Not the a-hole. You and your lawyer played this well. You're using these antics to revisit custody arrangements, yes? He made a false police report, is in arrears on child support, has been harassing you. He's showing himself to be a danger. He already doesn't see them terribly often. He has every other weekend and every Wednesday night. But I did make sure to not block him or anything, so that one, he can't try to claim I was keeping the kids from being able to contact him, and two, I could keep texts and voicemails with the name calling, and the threats that he was going to file for full custody and make it so I never see our kids again. You should use the court-recommended co-parenting app for all communication if you find him too annoying. I'm surprised his driver's license hasn't been revoked too, but maybe that depends on the state. In North Carolina, you lose it after not paying for 6 to 12 months and will get arrested at some point. His license is suspended, but we live in a city with really good public transportation that he uses most of the time, so it's not a huge deal to him. But I'm sure it wouldn't stop him from driving with it the way it is anyways. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I always knew my dad was the reason I wasn't a bone marrow donor for my half-sister? So the donating stuff happened 12 years ago. I, 20 female, was 8 at the time. My parents were divorced and shared custody of me, my older brother, and my younger brother. Mom was remarried and had my half-sister Evie with her husband. Evie was born with leukemia, and at first they thought other treatments had worked, but then she needed bone marrow. They couldn't find a match in the adults in both sides of her family, and there were no matches on the donor list. So, my mom wanted to test me and my brothers. Our dad said no, and Mom went behind his back and got us tested, and I was the only match. Dad wasn't okay with that, and he made sure Mom went no further. I did some research a few years ago, and I realized that this is already sort of uncertain territory, and the only reason I would have been considered is because of the sibling angle, but kids are typically not allowed to be bone marrow donors. I was kept out of it at the time, as were my brothers. But my older brother and I knew what was going on. We weren't young enough to not at least figure some stuff out. My younger brother knew Mom and Dad fought a lot, but wasn't aware of all the details. In the end, my dad stopped me from being a donor. It did have long-lasting effects, and my mom and her husband hate my dad for it. My mom had a big problem with me and my brothers having a good relationship with Dad as we got older, and she was upset we all chose to live primarily with him in our mid to late teens. The fact me and my younger brother live with Dad still bothers her so much more. And she asked me how I could live with him recently, and she told me all about Dad stopping me from donating bone marrow to my half-sister. Mom talked about it like I was supposed to be angry at Dad. She clearly still is. She said my half-sister's long-term health could have been so much better if she'd gotten the transplant way sooner than she did, and been able to recover faster. I know that was mentioned that she was sick for too long to fully recover in a way that didn't have a lifelong impact. But anyway, Mom was ranting about Dad and how he stopped me, and I told Mom I knew. Mom didn't look like she believed me at first, but I told her I always knew. Mom raged at me for the best part of an hour, and yeah, I let her. And then she asked me how I could make the decision to live with my dad after that. I told her he made the right decision and I was glad he did it. I was glad he fought for me. My mom told me she couldn't look at me and didn't know how to handle me being her daughter anymore. She told me it was disgusting, and then she said my poor half-sister would be crushed to know how I felt. After that, my brothers told her they knew too. My younger brother said he found out in his teens and it made sense. So mom's basically disowned us all now, and she said there's something heartless about us. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You were a kid. Your dad protected you. That's not heartless, it's love. I feel this way, but my mom doesn't. Then again, I think her priority in this argument is my half-sister, and not me or my brothers. I'm glad your dad stood up for you and took that burden off you. He became her villain to be your hero. Not only did he protect you from the surgery, he took the brunt of her anger for all those years, so it wouldn't be deflected onto you. He also stopped her from pressuring or guilt-tripping you into donating. He said no, so you wouldn't have to. Now that it's all out in the open, I hope you've thanked him for protecting you for all those years. Wow, this honestly broke my heart to read. Your mom's grief is real, sure, but you were 8. And bone marrow donation isn't a little scrape on the knee, it's a serious medical thing. I get that she was desperate to save her kid, any parent would be, but blaming you and basically punishing all her kids for a decision two adults made? That's not okay. Your dad might have made a hard call, but in my opinion, it sounds like he was protecting you. You were a child. You don't deserve to be made the villain in this story. Yes, Dad's priority was to protect his kids. Mom knows my half-sister wasn't the main concern or priority for Dad, but she was for Mom and her husband. And we were not a primary or even a secondary concern for Mom. She would have expected us to do it no matter what. Am I the a-hole for kicking my mother out for throwing away my son's baking things because she believes that baking is only for girls? My 14-year-old son loves to bake, and he is really good at it too. He started with simple things like cookies, but now he can bake just about anything, from bread to pies, even cakes. Sometimes friends and people we know will ask him to bake them something, and he will charge them a small fee. My mother has always hated the fact that my son loves baking. She doesn't understand what kind of boy enjoys doing things that are meant for girls. Ironically, his younger sister hates baking. I tried explaining to my mother that there's nothing wrong with my son's love for baking and that she's being sexist, but my mother is stubborn and always makes sure to mention just how much she doesn't approve of it every chance she gets. She was visiting us for a few days, and I came home from work to find my son distraught. When I asked him what was going on, he told me that he came back from a friend's house, only to find that his baking things had disappeared. When he asked his grandma, she just said that now he can find a new appropriate hobby. He has a specific kitchen cabinet where he stores all his baking things, and sure enough, it was empty. They weren't in the trash either. I asked my mother what she did with my son's things, and she proudly told me that she got rid of them because I was clearly not going to do anything about it and that I was a bad father for allowing it to go on as long as it did. These were approximately $200 worth of items collected over a period of time: hand mixer, scale, measuring tools, pans, etc. I told her that the only thing I have allowed to go on way too long is the constant disrespect for my son, and that she needs to apologize to him and either bring back his things right now or replace them. She stubbornly said that she is not going to do that, so I told her that first thing in the morning she needs to leave, and she's not allowed back here or around my children until she learns to respect their choices. She huffed and puffed all night and left in the morning. She was originally supposed to leave on Sunday, the day after my son's birthday. She even took the gift she had bought him and left with it. My stepdad called me to let me know just what a piece of turd he thinks I am for treating my mother this way and kicking her out like some random stranger. I told him that she did this to herself and hung up. Now for the top comments. These were approximately $200 worth of items collected over a period of time. That is actual theft causing you actual material loss. Just saying. Not the a-hole. If she's not willing to return or replace the supplies, then I say take her to small claims court and get reimbursed. Son might enjoy the process. Let him decide. Not the a-hole, and tell your mom to visit somewhere with elite cooking, like Italy or France, and see how many bakers are men. She has some outdated beliefs that are her problem, and not yours or your son's. I feel so bad for him though. That must have been really hard on him. Kudos for having his back. My mom is the most stubborn person ever. She would probably still disapprove. After this stunt, I have totally washed my hands off her. She can continue being backwards for all I care, as long as it's far away from my kids. You let her stay till morning. That was the wrong decision. You should have kicked her out and held her belongings ransom. Fair is fair. Maybe then she'd find an appropriate hobby that isn't bullying your kid. You legit let her in your house with that behavior? Apologize to your son for allowing it. I let her stay until morning, only because it was already late and she stays far. I really do wish I would have thought of holding her things ransom at the time, but I wasn't thinking straight. Thing is, she only said these things to me not around my son, and like I said on the post, I always made sure to tell her that she was wrong and sexist. I just never imagined she would take it this far. Yes, there were other ways that you could have handled this situation, but what you did do is still important. You did a great job in setting a hard boundary with your mother, and yes, you are a good parent to your son. Kudos. I appreciate that. Thank you. I still feel like I could have done more though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law that she's the one who taught her son he could cheat and think he'd get away with it? About 3 weeks ago, I found out that my husband has been cheating on me. The day I found out, I packed bags for me and the kids and left. I did not confront him about the cheating. I just let him know that our marriage was over, but that I hoped to work with him on an amicable divorce and custody arrangements. Of course he did all the cliché begging, crying, swearing he would change, that it was a mistake, and it meant nothing, blah blah blah. I just said, that's nice. Well, let me know where to send the divorce papers. He was shocked. He told me before that his dad cheated on his mom, but she was able to forgive him. He must have expected me to do the same. Since then, I have only communicated with him about the girls. He is running in circles trying to get me to react to anything else he says. I give him nothing. He has begged me to just talk to him. I said that there is nothing to talk about. My mother-in-law confronted me outside the gymnastics gym. I was going to hand the girls off to her so they could spend time with Dad. Mother-in-law told me that she was very disappointed in the way I'm handling all of this, that she expected more maturity from me, and that she hopes it doesn't impact the girls negatively long-term. I let her say what she wanted. She's allowed her opinion, but she looked at me, waiting for a response of some kind. So I asked her, why are you directing your anger at me when your son is the one who ended this marriage? She said that I am the one who chose to end the marriage, not him, that he was willing to work on it and go above and beyond to prove that it was a mistake and all that nonsense, and how it was most shocking how cold I've become, that I won't even talk to him. I said, well, what is there to say? He decided to end the marriage. The time to go to marriage counseling was before he did what he did. There is nothing left to salvage. He made the decision, and now he lives with the consequences. She was getting herself all worked up and upset. Oh, boo-hoo. Don't you feel bad for tearing apart this family? Don't you want your daughters to grow up in a stable home? How could you walk away after all this time? She said she couldn't imagine breaking up her family over something like this. I said, well, maybe if you had, your son wouldn't think he can cheat without consequences. You're the one who taught him this. She got that big shocked look on her face and told me that I was being a needlessly cruel monster over all of this. And, oh boo freaking who, she's disappointed. I'm not keeping the girls from him. I'm being helpful with those arrangements, and I plan to be generous when it comes to splitting time. I have no interest in taking anything that wasn't mine when we entered into our marriage. But somehow, I'm the cruel monster? How? I said, well, maybe if you had, your son wouldn't think he can cheat without consequences. You are my heroine. Best to you and your kids." I would have added on, "You showed your son that he can cheat without consequences. However, I'm not raising my daughters to think this is acceptable for them to tolerate." "Not the a-hole at all. Your soon-to-be ex sure is." Apparently, your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law listened to someone who gave her that same damned speech when her husband was out fooling around. And she bought it. How dare you not buy it? How dare you have your self-respect, dignity, and integrity, while she has a son who is no better than his cheating father? Not the a-hole. And there is absolutely no way on earth that I would set the example for the daughters that they should allow anyone to walk all over them like that. Heck no. Before we even got married, I told my husband cheating was a deal breaker. No forgiveness, just divorce. He was on board because his dad cheated on his mom, not the a-hole. My ex-husband and I had the same conversation. His father also cheated on his mom, but they stayed together, and I thought he was on the same page as me. Found out after 9.5 years together and 4.5 years married that he was seeing another woman, told her he cheated on her with me, the wife, got her pregnant, and then lied about all of it still until after the divorce. She knew he was married, and their twins were born on my birthday, before we were officially divorced, and still tried saying he wasn't cheating. Oh, and forced our 8-year-old autistic son to partake in his wedding to her, 6 weeks after our divorce, when my son had never even met the woman before. Now my son has nothing to do with him at 14. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make my sister's autistic son leave my wedding, even though my fiancé's parents threatened to walk out? This happened a few weeks ago, and things are still tense. I, 28 female, recently got married to my now husband, 30 male. We planned a medium-sized wedding, about 80 guests, fairly traditional, nothing super fancy. My sister, 32 female, has a 9-year-old son, Jamie, who is on the spectrum. He's verbal but gets overstimulated easily and sometimes makes sudden loud noises or flaps his hands. We all love Jamie, and my sister takes amazing care of him. I've always included him in events and made sure he felt welcome. Fast forward to the wedding. Jamie was seated at the family table, and my sister had headphones, fidgets, a sensory kit, all that. During the ceremony, he made a couple of noises, nothing major, just excited squeals. It honestly didn't bother me. I barely noticed, but apparently my fiancé's parents were livid and called it disruptive. They pulled him aside afterward and asked him why a child like that was even invited to a formal event. They told him either Jamie had to leave before the reception or they would. My husband told me about it during cocktail hour. I was furious. I said, if they leave, they leave. I'm not kicking out my nephew because they can't handle a child being happy at a wedding. He backed me up, and Jamie stayed. They ended up walking out right before dinner. No speech, no toast, nothing. His dad called me a self-centered brat later and said I ruined their son's big day for a performative inclusion stunt. My sister cried when she found out. Jamie didn't fully understand, but he asked why some people don't like my happy sounds. Since then, there's been a rift. My in-laws think I disrespected them. Some of my own family members said I could have just asked my sister to bring Jamie to the ceremony, but not the reception, and compromised to keep the peace. But to me, that felt like telling my sister her son is a problem we need to hide. So, am I the a-hole for choosing my nephew over keeping the in-laws happy at my wedding? Why did anyone tell your sister? And why tell Jamie? Just let them leave and move on. They can go pout at home. Children are people too. Your in-laws were out of line telling you which people you could invite to your own wedding. This is what I don't understand and kind of throws me off. How did Jamie even know they left, let alone that they left because of him? And especially, how did he know enough to ask why people don't like his happy sounds? Was someone really an a-hole and told him all this? At his age, it would have been easy to not let him know. Sister was crying. Probably the easiest thing she could think to tell him was that. And to be fair, it's probably not the first time she's had that conversation with him. Not the a-hole. To hell with your ignorant, selfish in-laws. Performative inclusion stunt? They are ridiculous. Didn't they know about Jamie before the wedding? Had they ever met him? He sounds like a great kid, and sis is doing all the necessary things for him. The outlaws will just have to effing adjust. They sound hateful. The type of people who don't believe people with disabilities or other differences are welcome on this earth. They can only imagine inclusion is performative because they don't want to include others in their lives and want to erase all diversity from view. Their loss. Your nephew seems sweet. Kudos to your husband for breaking away from that aspect of his upbringing. Not the a-hole. As the mom of an additional needs child, thank you for loving your nephew. My sister got married a few years ago. It is her second marriage, so it was a small wedding. She had my daughter as her only bridesmaid. My nieces were both fine with it because their cousin got a chance to shine. Your nephew will always remember that you were on his side and that you aren't ashamed of him. Your in-laws are a-holes. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not staying the full week on a family vacation planned by my fiancé's parents? I, 30 female, am engaged to my fiancé John, 30 male. His family spends a lot of time together, holidays, weekends, and frequent get-togethers with all the siblings and grandkids. John's dad retired this past May, and we already had a retirement party for him. Now his parents have planned a family vacation in November to celebrate his retirement again. They rented a large house out of state and invited everyone, siblings, spouses, grandkids, etc., for a full week, Saturday to Saturday. John and I were clear from the beginning that we probably wouldn't stay the entire time. I've always expressed that Thanksgiving is an important holiday for me to spend with my own family, and John told his parents early on that he wasn't sure we'd stay the full week because it was a long trip. We decided we'd attend the trip from Saturday through Wednesday, then head home so we could spend Thanksgiving with my family. Since then, there's been some subtle pushback. His parents have said things like, "It's just one Thanksgiving," or asked if John could stay even if I left. They've also said this is the first time the whole family is doing a trip like this in years, and it might not happen again. I understand they're excited about the trip, and we're not trying to skip it. We're planning to be there for 5 full days, but I don't think it's fair to expect every adult to give up a full week of their own time and holiday plans, especially when we made our intentions clear up front. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to stay the full week, even if it's disappointing to his parents? Edit. Many people asked about the subtle pushback. It was subtle in that they are communicating with John. His mom blew up when they asked about booking flights, and he said, "Yep, our plan is to come Saturday to Wednesday to get back to OP's family for Thanksgiving, since it's important to her." She went off saying, "It's just one. She can't miss just one. And can't you just stay?" Then he left that conversation upset, and we got in an argument about holding the boundary because he is a peacekeeper and tends to people please. Then a couple of weeks later, they asked him to come for dinner, and both his mom and dad pressed more, saying, "It's just one. Can't you just stay?" And then they told him he needs to advocate for himself. He was great about all of this. He held the boundary and told them this is a we decision and that this is what we are comfortable with. He told them he doesn't want to be away from his fiancée on the holiday. Not the a-hole. They do not have exclusive rights over your spare time. You and your fiancé are adults and have every right to choose where to spend holidays. They can host family time, but can't dictate how you spend all your holidays. At the age of 30, they can't dictate at all. They can host and invite, but the OP can decline. Not the a-hole. You have offered a reasonable compromise between their desire to host their entire family and your desire to spend the actual holiday with your family. His parents have said things like, "It's just one Thanksgiving." Just a heads up on this. Once you are married, you are probably going to have to figure out how to split holidays between your and your husband's families. Only ever going to one family's place for a particular holiday can build up resentment in the other. It's just one Thanksgiving can turn into, "She can't even spend one Thanksgiving with us," after a couple of years. It can even build resentment in your spouse, as they may want to sometimes spend that holiday with theirs. My own sister-in-law was like this when she married my brother, and after a few years, he got mad over it, and it caused some issues in their relationship, which they have since fixed. We talked it through and decided that since Thanksgiving is especially important to me, we'll spend Thanksgiving with my family every year. In return, because Christmas Eve is important to his mom, we've committed to spending Christmas Eve with his family every year. His mom has said she doesn't really care about Thanksgiving, so this feels like a fair and thoughtful compromise. His family usually does Thanksgiving as a daytime gathering centered around watching football, which doesn't really overlap with my family's dinner-focused celebration. But even though there's no direct conflict, I don't really want to split the day between two families or bounce around, especially since I help cook the meal with my mom. So we think it's reasonable to just choose one celebration. If it helps ease any tension, he's welcome to go to his family's gathering during the day. But I'd plan to stay home and spend that time cooking and preparing with my family. Given that we already spend most other holidays, Easter, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, with his family, this setup feels balanced and fair. We'll continue to check in and make sure it stays that way.